beautiful souls, and welcome back to She Feels Everything. I'm Gill, and today we're diving into a tender chapter from my own journey, one I've called The Girl Who Felt Too Much. This episode is especially close to my heart because it's also the title of Chapter 2 of my book, She Felt Everything. I was recording this episode yesterday, but it was so funny. I had so many interruptions and both my mics needed to be charged up. So it's funny, sometimes life gets in the way and the universe has other plans for us. So instead of having a podcast recording day, it was a rest and recover day instead. So we're going to dive in a little bit about when I was younger and when I was growing up as a young child. I was often labelled as shy. Teachers wrote it on school reports, and my parents would describe me that way to others. They just thought I was shy and introverted. But the truth was, I wasn't shy. I loved people. I loved talking and connecting with people. But after too much noise, too many voices, too many expectations, I felt drained. And it's, I guess, what it looked like as shyness to the outside world was really me needing solitude, time to recharge and, just to get back to myself. I longed for quiet corners, for time to just be. I mean, at the time, I didn't know what it meant to be an empath or a highly sensitive soul. I only knew I felt everything so deeply, and that it was exhausting to carry it all without understanding why. Oh yeah, I loved playing outside with friends. I used to go riding on my bike and on my roller skates up and down the drive. Although I remember there was a very nice holly bush at the side of one of the drives. I used to go into the holly bush on my roller skates, which wasn't very pleasant. But yes, I used to love playing as a child outside. In those days, we could play with the front doors wide open. We could play tag and Kirby, as it was known then, with everyone else in the street. We weren't stuck inside playing video games and doing all that sort of thing. It was good fun as a child, but at the same time, I think I kept my inner friend circle quite tight. I only had a few close friends who I used to play with really. And yeah, but I also needed my time of solitude, come inside and play some music in my room or read a book or do something like that. And sometimes my parents would say, why aren't you outside playing? Go on, go outside. Give me some peace and quiet. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, just it can be viewed as being shy, introverted, quiet, a bit strange, when in fact you're an empathic child and you're highly sensitive to everything, to noise, to too many people. Not all of the time, just some of the time. It didn't used to affect me all of the time. But yeah, we used to go on canal boat holidays and I absolutely loved going on canal boats. And thinking back, I know why, because if you think about if you've ever been on a canal boat or, done anything like that. It's a much slower pace, and it's more often than not quite quiet when you're on a canal boat. So I think that was really nourishing for my sensitive soul. It used to be somewhere where I could go and just find some peace and quiet. Although I was usually sharing a cabin with somebody else, my sister or somebody else. So it wasn't, but do you know what I mean though? It was a much quieter, much gentler pace of life. And it felt a lot better for my nervous system, I think, really. And I remember the social events we used to have at church. They were quite very draining, actually. I would wonder afterwards when we got home why I was so tired, exhausted. Yeah, I just needed time to recover from socializing with lots of people. Um, as I've said before, there's not a lot I can remember about my early childhood, really. There's obviously just the holidays to Whitby, Scarborough, holidays on canal boats, little glimpses of how I was as an empathic child and a highly sensitive child. And it is interesting when you think about the labels that we do put on children. Oh, she's the quiet one. She's the introverted one. She's the shy one. Uh, is that right that we label children straight away? Should we be giving them more time if they're in crowds of people, if they're in a noisy environment? Should we give them time to recover from that, balancing it out almost? Can you remember what you were like as a child? I know I've said it before, but sometimes you can't remember your early childhood if you've had traumatic events, but what were you like as a child growing up? Can you remember? Were you overstimulated? Did you need times of solitude to recover from family events even? Being around crowds, too much noise? Did you need to retreat to your room to just read books and play music? It's something for you to think about. So I'm now going to read a little bit from my book, Chapter 2, and the title is The Girl Who Felt Too Much. By the time I was old enough to run around and play, it was already clear I wasn't like the other kids. I felt things too deeply. I carried emotions in my body like weather systems. Joy would flood through me like golden sunlight, but sadness or stress from others felt like storms that soaked through my skin. I didn't have words for it then, but now I understand. I was an empath, and I was a highly sensitive child living in a world that didn't yet have language for girls like me. My parents assumed I was shy, introverted, maybe a little socially awkward. They couldn't understand why I didn't want to join in more, why I preferred solitude, and why I would sometimes withdraw. They thought they were helping me by encouraging me to participate more, to get out of my shell. But I didn't need to come out of anything. I needed space to breathe. I needed silence. I needed to be alone, not because I was afraid, but because I was overloaded. I became the good girl, the helper, the one who smiled when she didn't want to, who performed when asked, who said yes when everything inside her was screaming no. That was the role I learned to play, but behind that mask, I was struggling to process emotions that weren't even mine. Over time, this led to a deep sense of being too much, too emotional, too quiet, too reactive, and too intense. I started to build invisible walls around myself to survive. I learned how to blend in, how to make myself small, but inside, I was feeling everything, all the time. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a little bit of chapter 2 of my book, She Felt Everything. Now I'd like to read a soul note from my heart to yours. You were never too shy or too quiet. You were simply listening to your own sensitive rhythm. Your need for solitude is sacred, and it deserves honor, not apology. So let's take a lovely grounding breath together. Just some stillness. So I'd like you, wherever you are, to place your feet on the floor, to soften your shoulders, and if it feels right, bring a hand to your heart. Just notice how you're breathing. If it feels comfortable to do so, close your eyes or soften your gaze down towards the floor. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Hold for a moment and release with a sigh. One more time. Inhale through your nose. Hold for a moment and release with a sigh. Inhale calm and exhale the weight of old labels. Feel yourself relaxing and calming down and returning to your natural rhythm. And if you have your eyes closed, I invite you to open them and come back to the present. Thank you for being here with me today, sharing my story and my book. It feels like an offering, a reminder that if you've ever been misunderstood, you're not alone. So I'll see you in the next episode where we'll continue weaving story, soul and healing together. Until then, love, light and blessings from Gill, the inner healing empath. She feels everything.